Right now, in a coffee shop, a bar, or a crowded office, a woman is communicating exactly how she feels about a man without uttering a single word. She isn't sending a check-in text or whispering a hint. Instead, her body is broadcasting her attraction through four specific areas that she literally cannot keep hidden when her interest is piqued. This is the invisible language of biology, and it's happening all around you. The terrifying reality is that most men are completely oblivious to it. Research shows that a staggering 93% of men have no idea what they're looking at, causing them to miss the window of opportunity every single time. By the time the average guy realizes there was a vibe, the woman has already felt ignored or rejected and has moved on to someone else. But this isn't just about paying better attention, it's about understanding the deep-coded science of human interaction. A landmark study published in the journal Evolution and Human Behavior revealed that women communicate romantic interest primarily through nonverbal signals, and they do it an average of 13 times before a man even begins to catch on. Think about that. She is practically screaming her interest at you in a language your brain hasn't been trained to decode yet. This isn't a game of mind games or rehearsed dating tricks. These are raw, involuntary biological responses triggered by the nervous system. When a woman is truly attracted to someone, her body makes an executive decision to signal that interest before her conscious mind even has a chance to vote on it. Understanding this changes the way you see every interaction from this point forward. You have to realize that the human body is actually terrible at keeping secrets. While most people focus on the 7% of communication that comes from actual words, they ignore the massive 55% that comes from pure body language. She could be talking to you about the weather, her job, or her weekend plans, but her body is running a completely different broadcast underneath the surface. Once you learn how to tune into that frequency, you'll stop guessing and start seeing the truth. You aren't just watching a conversation anymore. You're witnessing a biological symphony that has been playing for thousands of years, and for the first time, you're finally going to hear the music. The neck is the first and perhaps most significant signal of attraction because of what it represents on a primal evolutionary level. When a woman tilts her head to one side during a conversation, reaches up to touch her throat, or brushes her hair away to leave her neck fully exposed, she isn't just adjusting her appearance, she is flashing a massive biological green light. To understand why this is so powerful, you have to look at the anatomy of the human body. The neck is one of our most vulnerable areas. It houses the carotid artery, the jugular vein, and the trachea. In the wild, exposing these kill points is a move only made when a creature feels completely secure. When a woman does this in your presence, her body is performing what anthropologist Dr. David Given calls a receptivity display. It is her subconscious way of saying, I don't perceive you as a threat. In fact, I'm comfortable enough to let my guard down and invite you closer. Beyond the psychology of trust, there is a fascinating chemical layer to this behavior that most men never suspect. The neck and the area behind the ears are densely packed with pheromone-releasing glands. When a woman tilts her head or runs her fingers along her neck, she is, without even realizing it, activating those glands and essentially broadcasting her unique chemical scent directly in your direction. Her endocrine system has made an executive decision to make her more noticeable to you on a molecular level. It's a mechanism designed by nature to bridge the gap between two people before a single word of intent is even spoken. The key to reading this signal accurately is looking for repetition and clusters. If she touches her neck once, she might just have an itch or be adjusting a necklace. However, if she does it 2, 3, or 4 times throughout a single conversation, the odds of it being an accident drop to nearly zero. This is her body putting up a neon sign that says she is engaged and interested. I've caught myself doing this exact thing mid-conversation with someone I found attractive, and the realization is always startling because it happens so naturally. When you see this vulnerable lean combined with her hair being swept aside, you aren't just looking at a gesture. You're looking at a physical surrender to the moment. The inner wrists are one of the most overlooked yet fascinating indicators of attraction in the human body. While it may sound overly specific, the presence of open wrists during a conversation is a massive psychological indicator of receptivity. When a woman is attracted to you, she will subconsciously begin to orient her hands so that the soft inner part of her wrists is visible to you. This might happen while she's gesturing, when she rests her chin on her hand with her palm facing upward, or even if she simply lays her hands on a table with the undersides exposed. This is what body language experts call a vulnerability display, because the inner wrist is a delicate pulse point where the skin is thin and the veins are close to the surface. Showing them is the biological opposite of a defensive posture. When someone feels threatened or closed off, they naturally clench their fists or turn their wrists inward to protect these soft areas. When they feel a spark, those defenses literally melt away. The science backing this up is remarkably consistent. A study conducted by the University of Manchester found that women in the early stages of romantic attraction display significantly more open palm and wrist-exposing gestures than those in neutral social settings. Researchers noted that the longer a woman stayed around an attractive stimulus, in this case a man she liked, the more frequent these gestures became. It is as if her body is physically opening up to receive the person in front of her. This movement is a micro-behavior that occurs entirely below the level of conscious awareness. Her brain hasn't decided to show you her wrists, but her nervous system has already signaled that she is unguarded and comfortable in your presence. There is also a functional, chemical reason for this behavior that mirrors what we see with the neck. The inner wrists are heat zones for the body. This is why perfume is traditionally applied to the pulse points. The warmth of the blood flowing near the surface of the skin helps to project scent outward. When a woman subconsciously turns her wrists toward you, she is effectively using her own body heat to broadcast her natural pheromones in your direction. It is nature's way of creating a chemical bridge between two people. She isn't doing it on purpose, but her body is essentially performing a high-tech marketing campaign for her attraction, hoping your own biology will pick up the scent. If you want to know what a woman is really thinking, stop looking at her face and start looking at her feet. According to experts like former FBI behavioral analyst Joe Navarro, the legs and feet are the most honest parts of the human body. This is because we spend our entire lives learning how to mask our facial expressions and fake a smile, but almost no one thinks to monitor what their feet are doing. Because they are the furthest limbs from the brain, they are the first to react to our true emotions and the last to be censored by our conscious mind. When a woman is attracted to you, her feet will act like a compass, even if she is turned away to speak to someone else in a group. If her toes are pointed directly at you, her subconscious has already signaled that you are the most important person in the room. The way she crosses her legs adds another layer of depth to this silent conversation. It is all about the knee point and the creation of barriers. If she is sitting and crosses her legs so that the top leg is pointed towards you, she is effectively opening her profile and angling her body into your personal space. This is a strong signal of comfort and invitation. However, if she crosses her legs so that her top knee points away from you, she is using her leg as a physical shield, creating a psychological barrier that says she isn't quite ready to let you in. This isn't necessarily a permanent no, but it tells you exactly where you stand in that moment. Finally, you have to watch for the vibration and the shift. When a woman experiences attraction, her nervous system becomes flooded with adrenaline and dopamine, creating a literal surge of physical energy. This often manifests as the restless leg, a subtle bouncing or swaying of the foot that indicates she is physically up because of your presence. Taking this a step further, psychologist Dr. Monica Moore identifies the slow leg cross and uncross as one of the most powerful flirtation signals in existence. This deliberate rhythmic movement is designed to draw visual attention to the lower body without saying a word. It's a high-level biological look-at-me gesture that says she is fully engaged in the tension of the moment. The torso is the final and most defining signal of attraction because it represents the most significant physical commitment the body can make. To understand its power, you have to realize that the front of the body, the chest and stomach, is where every vital organ is housed. From a survival perspective, the center line of the body is our most vulnerable zone. It's why we naturally hunch our shoulders or turn sideways when we feel uncomfortable, threatened, or defensive. This is a hardwired instinct to protect our soft spots. Therefore, when a woman squares her torso directly toward you, she is practicing what behavioral scientists call ventral openness. By aiming her chest and stomach squarely at you, she is signaling at a primal level that she views you as safe, desirable, and worth being completely open to. The weight of this signal is backed by rigorous social neuroscience. Research from Princeton University has identified full frontal orientation as the single strongest nonverbal predictor of interpersonal interest. While a person can easily turn their head to be polite or move their hands to be expressive, the torso is heavy and requires effort to align. It serves as the body's true center of gravity. In a social setting, you will often see a woman talking to one person while her entire torso is aimed like a satellite dish at a man on the other side of the circle. This is because the torso doesn't care about social etiquette or who she should be talking to. It simply points toward the person who has captured her attention. This torso lock is often accompanied by subtle behaviors that draw even more attention to her center line. When a woman is attracted, she might adjust her clothing, touch her stomach lightly, or lean forward to bring her upper body closer to yours. These are all ventral displays that emphasize her openness. I've experienced this myself. Looking at a group photo later and realizing that while I was mid-sentence with a friend, my entire body was squared up and locked onto the guy I liked as if he were the only person in the room. My brain was trying to play it cool, but my body had already made its choice. When you see a woman consistently squaring up with you, you aren't just having a conversation. You are standing in the center of her focus. Understanding these individual signals is useful, but the real secret to reading a woman's interest lies in seeing how they work together as a symphony. In the world of behavioral science, we look for clusters. A single gesture, like a woman touching her neck, might just be a coincidence or a habit. However, when you see a cluster, meaning she is exposing her neck, showing her inner wrists, and squaring her torso toward you all at the same time, the probability of it being an accident vanishes. It becomes a biological certainty. This is her body coordinating a multi-layered broadcast of attraction. Think of it like a puzzle. One piece doesn't tell the whole story, but when you snap 4 or 5 pieces together, the picture of her desire becomes undeniable. The data backing this up is incredibly persuasive. Dr. Monica Moore's extensive research into social interactions found that women who displayed 4 or more of these nonverbal signals in a short period were approached by men nearly 4 times as often as those who displayed fewer signals. These women weren't being loud, aggressive, or obvious in the traditional sense. They were simply more fluent in the ancient language of biology. Most people in the room might dismiss these movements as simple fidgeting, but for the man who has been trained to see them, they are a clear roadmap. By performing these subtle shifts, her body is lowering the barrier to entry and signaling that a move from you would be welcomed, not rejected. Now that you've been given the tools to read her mind, you have a significant advantage, but you also have a responsibility to act. Knowing she is attracted to you is only the first half of the equation. The second half is timing. In attraction, the window of opportunity is a real thing, and it doesn't stay open forever. If you recognize the symphony but wait too long to respond, the tension can go from electric to awkward and the magic of the moment can fade. You need to know the exact physical cues that signal she is ready for you to close the distance and make a move. I've prepared a follow-up that breaks down the 6 specific signs she wants you to kiss her, ensuring that once you've identified the attraction, you never fumble the finish.